Hello everyone, my name is Maria and welcome to the channel. Today we are doing some light reading of stories from the game Tell Me Why. In this video I'm going to give you a short recap of all the stories written in the Goblins book, and even though I will mention some theories, I don't know what happens in the game because I'm still in the process of making a playthrough for it. So please, if you wish to share some spoilers, keep them hidden and we'll check them out after we finish the game. Thank you and let's begin. Alright, so basically it's a fairy tale about a frog who saved a princess who was hiding from the mad hunter. She just carried her on her back, and then when the princess kissed the frog was able to speak. The mad hunter is always at my heels. Now you're safe and I've had my revenge. You can stay in this house. It has been abandoned for a long time and no one will look for you here. So these little goblins, they were trying to find a place to live and they found the ice cave, but then the old bear came and said, hey, it's mine, but then they thought that everything was collapsing, so they found another den for the old bear to live in and, sleep through the winter. During this time, the goblins lived in his cave, and then when the spring came, they basically all lived there together. Goblins had their own place and the bear had his. This story is actually quite interesting and it does sound like something real. These two goblins, they met a lot of different creatures and we don't know them yet, but we will a little bit later. And they liked playing little pranks on those creatures, and the Ice King noticed it and told them to help out all those creatures with their problems that were caused by goblins. And two goblins fixed everything and they understood that, quote unquote, that our pranks can make people feel bad. And the Ice King smiled and nodded. Yes, actions have consequences. In case you forget, I'm going to leave you with a reminder. Whenever one of your pranks is going to hurt someone, you are going to feel a little pit in your stomach. So I think maybe it was about some adult in their life who tried to teach them, about consequences of their actions. So the princess's party is the story about how the princess took her friends for granted, and at the end of the party she found 3 gifts and she needed to guess who they are from, and she opened all the boxes. And the first one was a torch. Someone wants to make sure I don't get lost in the woods when it's dark and I always see right from wrong. So this is who we need to find. The second one is a magic sword. Someone wants to make sure I'm protected if I'm ever under threat. And the third one is a bag of coins. Someone wants to make sure I have money to buy food when I'm hungry and clothes when I'm cold. This story is definitely about a mother's romantic interest. So there was a wolf who tried to attack the princess, but the old bear saw it and rescued her. After that, the old bear kept giving her gifts and even asked the princess to marry him, and she refused. As I understand, it was going on for several years, but then the princess explained that I will never marry you, I will be better eaten by the wolves, which is kinda rough. But that's what it is, and we can see that he brought her salmon, a handful of ripe berries, a newly bloomed bluebell, so food. I think that might be our number 1 from the princess's party story, but let's continue. This tale is pretty sad. It's about some old person, as I understand, who helped the princess, or the mother, you can say. There was something happening to the princess's house. First, the old bear wanted to help her out, but he couldn't. So the princess went and asked the very old beaver to help out with the house. So we can see that the princess was very grateful for all the help. And then the very old beaver grew ill. The princess nursed the very old beaver until the day they passed on. But as we see, she was truly very grateful for the help with the house and everything else. The Princess and the Two Thieves is a story about how Tyler and Allison were stealing food and kitchen items from the house, and their mother discovered it. But there is nothing about punishment or things like that. She was just wondering what has happened, and she baked a cake because she knew that the creatures would want to steal it, but they stole it anyway, and she understood that those little goblins were living under her house. But I think here the most interesting thing is the beginning of the story, because here we see the princess was not a native of the forest, but she never spoke about where she had come from, for it made her cry. The princess was happy to be left alone in the big house in the deep forest. So now I have a theory that their mother was actually hiding from someone, and considering that we know she created a scary character named the Mad Hunter, I think it might be true. Maybe I'm completely wrong about this, but that story makes it sound like the kids were adopted, because here we see how the princess meets two goblins, and there is one line here, let me see. But we don't know you, and you are not like us. So now I'm almost sure that they somehow found each other, because basically the story is about how they met and how they promised to be friends. A friend is someone you love and care for, someone you would never hurt. And we know that it wasn't true. But this is the moment where they were promising these things to each other. This is another story about a man who was interested in their mother. So he was trying to get the honey from the tree, but there were a lot of carpenter ants there and he was hurt. So little goblins were laughing at him and saying that he's not useful. But then the old bear helped the goat find her kid, and then the goblins said, hey, yes, you are pretty useful. This is the main gist of the story, but it makes me think that the old bear, and I might be mistaken, is the police officer, because we can see that he was always around, he helped other people, and he even got a place for goblins to live in the ice cave. So for some reason I think it might be the policeman, but I'm not sure. So far this story sounds less realistic than the other ones. There was a moon hag who had a magical mirror, and it showed who she really wanted to be, and she lured men into her lair and then she killed them. But the goblins stole the mirror and she couldn't use her magic anymore, and she became so angry that the whole ocean became heated from her anger. This awakened the Ice King, who realized that the goblin stole the mirror, but he didn't give it back to the hag, and he just allowed her to leave the lake and walk the earth as the hag she really is. So I'm not sure what the moral of this story is, but the old hag is somehow connected to the Ice King. That we can try to remember, and let's go on. The goblins trick the Mad Hunter. This story is very intriguing and confusing. It's about the Mad Hunter, and I theorize that it is a person who is somehow hunting their mother, and we can see that this person was punished by the Gold Lady for failing to return with the wise princess. So there is some Gold Lady who wants to bring the princess back to their own city, I suppose. The crafty goblins found the Mad Hunter before he could get to the princess, and they decided to create a decoy. They took her clothes and brought it to the lake, but they needed to hide because there was the moon hag from the previous fairy tale. The decoy worked and the Mad Hunter went into the lake. So as I understand, if it's about real people, this probably abusive person came to town to find the princess, their mother, and somehow got into the moon hag's house, probably. So I hope we will find out what this is about. Great, this story is about the Pelican, and it looks like it's some family friend who didn't want to help the goblins and the princess at first. Then she was persuaded by the Ice King to help them, and then the Pelican brought food and other great things. So we will be looking for a family friend who wanted to help the goblins and the mother. I mean the kids and the mother. So let's continue. The goblins earn their voice, I think might be a very metaphorical story, because it's about a secret keeper who was trading secrets, and a new character called Stalwart Moose came to her and he was upset, and the goblins wanted to find out why. So they asked the secret keeper to sell this secret, and they found out that Moose's mate has passed away from a cliffside. And then the goblin stole her other secrets, but she wanted to get them back. So they made an exchange because Secret Keeper gave them the power of the voice, and they started hearing each other in their heads. So I think that when we will try to figure out who this person is or what it is, we will need to focus on when the voice started happening to our dearest siblings. And let's continue. First of all, I was wrong about this story because Moose didn't just witness his mate's death, but he caused it. Because in this story, we know that he killed her, and I just missed that detail in the previous one. So this is again a story about the big frog from the very first tale. And by the way, as I understand, this person helped the mother move from her original city to this small one because they traveled together, and it just makes sense. So here we find out that the frog is talking quite a lot, and she's just gossiping all the time, and she's revealing everyone's secret, and the Ice King was very unhappy about it. So as a punishment, he told her one of the biggest secrets he has, and he told her that she would be frightened because of it. We know that this person who came with the mother to the city got very gossipy, and a lot of people really didn't like it. Also, we can see here, she told the bees that Old Bear had stolen their precious honey 2 years ago. So the Old Bear might also be a person who stole something. The Goblins Save the Old Beaver is just about how the old beaver fell into the river, and with the power of the voice, goblins saved her life. There is nothing more to it really, so let's just continue. The Pelican Forgives the Goblins is a story about how the goblins took food from the pelican. So I assume that it is some rich person who helped the family, as we can see twice. But in return, the pelican asked the goblins to be generous and kind to others as well. And as we can see, this happened prior to them helping the old bear and the princess. So it's interesting that it's out of chronological order. We also see that in this story they mention that one day stalwart Moose will teach them how to fish, and I think it might be a metaphor about working, but we'll see it in some of the other stories. I hope this story is highly metaphorical, and it's about the ice troll who wanted to eat the goblins, and he caught him somewhere they weren't supposed to be, but somehow they tricked the ice troll and got away, but they vowed to never go so deep into the forest again. So it looks like the kids were in some real danger, but I don't know what this could be about. The Goblins Trick the Muskrat is a very difficult story to decipher, so I'm really not sure. It's about a muskrat. He only cared about his beautiful coat, and one day he somehow offended the goblins and they decided to pay him back by stealing the coat. So one day they came in and they were just shining in something beautiful and golden, and the muskrat also wanted to have this gold on his fur, let's say, and they just tricked him a bunch of times and got his coat, but that awakened the Ice King and he decided to give the coat back, but from this day forward it will be patchy and unkept. So the only hint we have here is that this person is very vain. Also, I have a theory that the Ice King might be their conscious or maybe some powerful person in town. I think we finally have a story that is pretty understandable about the moose. So it is a person who witnessed that other people or creatures were giving the goblins their food, such as the old bear and the big frog. The moose was surprised, but then he realized that he can just help the goblins and teach them how to catch their own fish. So I will be looking for a person who maybe gave them a job or maybe literally showed them how to catch a fish. This story is very interesting. So it's about the Mad Hunter and about the Moon Hag. As we can see here, they were working together, and the Moon Hag was planning on using the Mad Hunter to defeat the Ice King, and they even had a plan, and it really looks like she gave him a weapon or something like this, because she lured the Ice King into the lake and she was expecting that the Mad Hunter will kill him, but he didn't, because I assume he went to kill the princess instead. Of course, the Ice King was mad and he said that for your wickedness you will be eternally bound to the lake. So I think maybe before that she was on house arrest or something like that, and then she was put into prison, if we're talking about real people. So these stories are really interesting. I hope they are all connected to real people, otherwise I will feel really silly. So this is it, guys, and we went through all the stories. I hope that you found out something interesting and useful for your own playthroughs or for continuing playing with me on my channel, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Hope to see you soon. Bye.